Hey everybody, I'm going to just tweet this out real quick, and then I'll get started. Okay, let's see here. Perfect. All right. I made this, or I'm making this vlog because I happened to go back my Twitter history with @Zennie62, which was wrongly suspended, and I noticed a pattern that was more acute after I looked than I realized. And it has to do with racism. And I'm going to cut to the chase. Of all the people that I've had exchanges with on Twitter, which I don't enjoy, I prefer to monetize or make a vlog. Um, and so sometimes I do enjoy them, but I use Twitter to advance my videos and my content. But my point is, of all of the exchanges, I've noticed that the only group of people to make fun of the fact that, and this is the only group of people to make fun of the fact that I'm here in Georgia as a caretaker for my mom, a caregiver, are white guys who claim to be A's fans. Or the latest person to do it was Stephen Tavares, also white, of East Bay citizen. All right. And this pattern has gone on and on and on. And if it wasn't that, I've noticed that they're not willing to, and I'm just really, it's hard for me to say this, but it's a pattern that I'm just simply calling out attention to. Because these will be the first persons to say, oh, that they're not racist, or that I always call someone racist. But the simple fact of the matter is that I vlogged on YouTube, actually even before YouTube, going back to 2000, wow, it's been that long? Yeah, 2005. And was on Blip TV, which had a better codec than YouTube. YouTube was using Flash, Blip TV was using H.264. And I was one of the people who was at the first West Coast Vlogger Convention ever. That was VloggerCon. That was 2006, San Francisco. I've been at the ground level of this. And what happened then, and I go back that far, not just because I go back that far, but because early on YouTube, if people who were commenting didn't want to hear me, they would use the N-word in the comment. And I remember going to YouTube community meetup in April of 2009 with Jamal Finkley, among others, who started Black Tree Media, and Mr. Guitar Man, a great guy, and a number of other people. Okay, it was a great, fantastic meetup at Google in San Francisco. And we got down to talking about comments, negative comments, and I mentioned the N-word problem, as did Jamal. But what I got out of the meeting was, well, you make money when people comment, so just ignore it or just say thank you very much. And I actually tried that. And then I just literally hit a wall of anger because I realized, look, why do I have to accommodate for racism? Why can't I have the same playing field of treatment that somebody white has? Okay. And one moment, please. I'll come back to this. Okay, so I'm back. There may be the complications of vlogging at times, or hey, when you're When your mother needs your help, your mother needs your help. And I'm here to help her. I have my place in Oakland. All right. I'll get to that in a second. But anyway, going back to YouTube and the community meetup, and what I realized afterward, and my indignation over realizing, hey, you know what? I should not have to put up with this. So I embarked on what became a near 4-year mission of getting YouTube to do one thing: install a filter so that I didn't have to see the N-word. I don't care what you think. I don't care what songs you like, or I like for that matter. I don't care how you view Black culture. I don't like using or being called the N-word. I don't like it with anyone. I don't care if it's someone in my own family. I don't care if it's a friend. My friends, Black relatives, Black folks do not use the N-word. You understand? They don't do it. And so it was with that I embarked on a mission. And by the grace of God and the help of CBS News as an ad age, it was able to make enough ruckus to have in 2013 installed what I always wanted: a simple word filter. I got it. Because when people don't want to hear you, and they tend to be white, okay, and I'm just being blunt about this, they make all sorts of ad hominem attacks, including then racist ones. Now we have filters to discourage that. Not that it doesn't happen to other people. But all of my platforms, all my blog platforms have a very powerful code system I install. Okay? So then what I noticed, particularly when it's first during the Raiders issue, and I started to attract people who were Raider fans because I was already covering the NFL and the NFL draft. Oakland based, first blog, everything else. You know the drill, okay? And quickly gained a following. And had clear information that, hey, the Raiders were going to stay in Oakland. Clear information. And indeed, and I'm going to tell you right now, just to kind of close that for a bit, I'm going to tell you right now what happened that caused me to maintain my position. It was day and the run up to the town hall meeting that we had at the Coliseum at that sort of send off to let the world know that Oakland wants the Raiders to stay in Oakland, and the NFL should understand and see all these Raider fans massed together, right? It was a great event. I still have the live stream on here at Zennie62 on YouTube, right? Very early in the morning of the day of what turned out to be that sad vote, Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf, my god sister, contacted me and said, I'm going to send you something at 6 o'clock in the morning, but don't call me, okay? And my thought, by the way she put it and everything else that happened up to that point, was that she was actually going to come to the meeting in Arizona and demand an audience with the NFL owners and make her case why a last minute, quite literally Hail Mary speech, why the Raiders should stay in Oakland, and here's how we, the city of Oakland, were going to maintain them, right? Instead, what she sent to me and then had distributed through the attorneys wasn't that. It was heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking. It was absolutely, totally heartbreaking. I remember that the day before that, the late John Clayton and I missed that guy. We're on our way to the meeting. Hope his wife's doing well. And I remember at the airport, at the terminal at SFO, he was going dun, 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 Jerry Jones guy. In fact, this is a video. He told me where Jerry Jones had the votes lined up. Okay. So I had a lot of reasons to believe that deal was going to go down, that even though Jerry Jones had those votes lined up, I thought Libby was making deals on her own. She wasn't. That's the saddest part. She wasn't. And she wasn't asking for help from me or anybody else. And as I look at it from an entirely other way, it looked to me like she and other council members had it in their mind to clear the Coliseum and sell off the land at a high price because of how high the real estate was. And they didn't care about, Coliseum City or a sports nexus or anything. And if you go back and look at their statements and actions, it's pretty hard to avoid that conclusion. It really is. It still is. Okay? So when Howard Terminal came up, I remember, you have to understand my involvement. And this goes all the way back to 1986 when I was hired to work for the city of Oakland as an intern, which I did in 87, right after grad school. And that's where I learned tax increment financing. Think about how many years that is. If you've been to Emeryville, that Best Buy you were in is there because of a memo that I wrote that quite literally shooed away the East Bay Municipal Utility District, which wanted to expand its wet weather storage facility over to that property. I can go on and on and on. So what I bring to the table, unlike everybody else that's involved in this news business, is hard experience. Not just there, but I'm the only person in NFL history to actually formed a bid to bring the Super Bowl to Oakland and came to within 8 NFL votes of doing so. Nobody else has. I have real life urban planning, training, and development experience. So because of that, it's logical that anybody else who's in news, right, should turn to me and ask me a question. And while they used to, people like Larry Beal would, in the early days of blogging, they don't. They act like, no offense to Hal the hot dog guy, but like, because Hal the hot dog guy has a PhD in economics, he's someone you can go to just more so than me. But he doesn't understand development economics. He hasn't had to put together a development team or do a market study. He doesn't understand how banks think about these sort of things. And he doesn't ask. There is a hard process to this. Okay. So starting with the Raiders and what I discovered were the different factions and groups within the fandom, and then pouring over to Howard Terminal, there have been a succession of people, all white guys, who would launch ad hominem attacks. Or separate from that, It was, oh, if I have an opinion about something or point, you have to be paid by somebody, as opposed to running my own media company. I have never received payment to issue an opinion. Here's the thing. I would love to be. I would love to be a spokesperson. That's a commercial, okay? But what's worse is that when, for example, Darwin Von Graham does it, Darwin forgets to tell you that the organization that he works for now gets paid by organizations like Oakland side, gets paid by public relations organizations like the Workers Agency, excuse me, which finances any news that is of a progressive bent. You know what I say? Good for you. I mean, you're making money to put out news as you see it in your way. But don't attack me because you think that I'm doing it and not say how you're making your money. But that's what Oakland side does. The only time I ever had an opportunity to talk with Oakland side was when Frances Dinkelspiel created it and wanted me to meet her editor. And I wanted to talk to Frances first before I met her editor, not because I didn't want to meet her editor. No. I think it might have been Yasmin. But what you don't know is that Frances and I go all the way back to when I worked for Oakland Mayor Elihu Harris, and I was really unhappy with how bond counsel, Stephens McCarthy Kunzel, was telling me, good people, all right, hey, we warned the city of Oakland about the Raider bonds. They didn't listen. Here's the documentation. Here's the notes. Here's the emails. I took all of that and I tried to get it out into the news. I first gave it to Rick Del Vecchio of the Chronicle. He sat on it for 5 months. I ran into Rick on BART. I said, hey, what's going on? So in a fit of pick, I gave it to Frances and her colleague at the San Jose Mercury News. I believe she got a local Pulitzer out of that. But see, we lost contact and we never talked after that. That was a long time. I like Frances, okay? I've never had cause to dislike her. Maybe your publication has things that I do view as racist, all right? But I like her, okay? So I wanted to clear the decks about some things before we got together, but she didn't do that. And what bothered me was that Frances was coming off like, and didn't see that, hey, look, I'm a founder, she's a founder, we talk on that level. I'm not ready to talk to the people that work here. She and I are equal players. We have a lot to talk about. We should have talked first. That's what I was trying to do. And she reached out to me on Alignable, all right? So, but that didn't happen. So all throughout this history, there have been this constant parade of white folks in media or white folks who are involved in, say, as Raider fans or A's fans, who, if I didn't toe their line, or if I approach something really technically, which I always do, that's what I do, rather than say, hey, we're trying to understand what you're saying, they will launch an attack. But where I draw the line, I don't make fun of someone's family or parentage. But a number of you have done that. You're the worst kind of person. And you continue to do that today. All right? So you try, quite literally trying to be on two coasts, in the middle of a pandemic, keep money come in, help your mother, which you should be doing, all right? Quite literally alter your life for your parent and enjoy every minute of it. I love my mother. My mother is a pioneer reservation sales agent with United Airlines, or was 30 years, okay? There's a lot of Black history there, not told. should be told. One of the greatest generations are black professionals. The first class of black professionals in America, among the greatest generation, because of what they had to put up with from people like some of you out there who are white, who subconsciously can't stand that somebody black is in what you consider to be your space. It could be something like me blogging about the alley, all right? And how I call it the alley, or refer to it as the alley cat, and then someone will attack me for that, and they're white. In this case, is a white woman. But the underlying message is, oh, this is a white subject. How dare you? Or if I would go to sing at the alley early on, you had that undercurrent of people who thought that, well, okay, this person's black, and so it's not they don't say that you're not supposed to be there. They act on it by not talking to you, treating you differently. But they're the first people to say that they're not racist. And you are racist. If you don't want somebody pointing out that you're racist, look, do yourself a favor. Ask how you can be a better person. The people who complain that I say that have never once asked me how they could be a better person at all, which means they don't care to be better. And they want to use social media like Twitter just to be the worst examples of themselves. And that's what they do. That's what you do. You present the worst example of yourself all the time. I wonder if you know how to be better. And at this stage of my life, I don't know that I care anymore. I have had it waiting for you all to grow up. I am tired of your attitudes. So you would say, what am I going to do about it? Well, I'm doing it. I'm telling you. It doesn't matter if it's this or, folks like when I went to the Lake Merritt Breakfast Club, and I had a question for Nancy O'Malley, who was our DA. And it was a question regarding legislation and, of course, tax and government financing and, applying it to in a way that would help the DA's office and all that through its programs, okay? And Nancy gave me an answer that was misunderstood. This is actually something I vlogged about. You hear the exchange. And I said, can I, through the chair, Robert's Rules of Order, may I offer clarification? I asked that of Abel Guillen. He didn't say no. So I gave a clarification, and someone went back and says, oh, come on. And this is in a room full of people I thought I knew, like Robert Kidd was there, who I've been acquainted with for decades, but Robert didn't ask me how I was doing, also white. He didn't say, hey, Zennie, how you doing? I thought, what did I do to Robert? Okay? These are kind of things that, as late Ralph Wiley would put it, are why black people tend to shout. There are patterns in behavior that white folks, and particularly white men in these contexts I'm talking about, where the Raiders and the A's do, that they're not even aware of, but all they have to do is go back to the patterns of exchanges and see it. There was only one person, black, I've ever had, okay, who turned around and recently said, well, you talk like you think you know everything. Bleacher Dave. So what? I mean, think about that. What's wrong with a black guy talking confidently? That's what he's saying to me. Oh, you shouldn't be talking confidently. I haven't heard that in ever from somebody black. I've heard different versions of it in the past, okay? But generally from someone white, like Bill Claggett. when I went to Robert Bob, I wanted to run economic development. LEU hired Bill. Robert Bob, who was the city manager at the time, told me to go talk to Claggett about working in economic development under him, which I didn't want to do. We had lunch at Max's, and Bill said, "You talk like you think you know everything." I'll tell you the date. That was December 6, 2000, excuse me, December 6, 1998, at Max's in City Center. And I left that thinking, I'm out of here. And by the grace of God, I ran into Robert Bob, and Robert said, "How to go with Claggett?" And I said, "Lousy." He said, "I talk like I think I know everything." And this is what Robert said: black, black. "You do." I said, "What?" He goes, "You're young, you're black, you're a threat." He said, "Oakland is a crab barrel town. People want to bring you down." That's true today. That's what I don't like about Oakland side with respect to me. Oakland side wants to bring me down. And they get Darwin to do it. It's a vomiting up of racism. This is a truism, okay? And they're operating illegally. A 501c3 news organization is by law prohibited from making partisan posts that impact politics in any way. Doesn't matter if it's liberal, conservative. They don't care. The law is clear. Oakland side violates the law whenever it sees fit, because apparently it believes that there's nobody out there that's going to file a complaint, and the IRS isn't going to do anything to fine them or take away their nonprofit status and make them the for-profit they should be. Okay? So then they attract these Oakland City Council members, 5 at their October 28th, 2021 meeting, to give them money, be at their fundraiser. When they say, "We don't cozy up the politicians." Yeah, I got proof you do. Stop being dishonest and then using your, feigning objectivity as a tool to attack me, because that's what you've done. That's racist. It's racist, racist, racist. So it may seem like I'm kind of all over the place, but really I'm not. There's a constant theme here about racism done to me, because I strive to be a good person. I make mistakes. I'll be the first to tell you that, okay? But the kind of mistakes that I make are mistakes that, I made in the past, like a DUI that almost killed me, okay? All right? But when it comes to treating people a certain way, I like to think I'm a nice person. I think about person who's over at the Landmark landscape architect, Naomi Schiff. I've always been, and you can see this on video, complimentary of Naomi, called her a legend, everything else. But she would never cease to do anything but attack me on Facebook. So I had to block her. All right. It never occurred to her, hey, look, this guy's got almost 2 decades of material out there where he's complimenting you, advancing you, and yet you're being shitty to him. And she's white. Okay? So again, the reason why I'm making this is because I happen to look at the pattern. I just happened to see it. I thought, wow. So folks, be better. I don't care if you don't want to be better. Be better, okay? Thank you, David. Appreciate it. He says, don't appreciate your knowledge because of your color. Right, they don't. And they hurt themselves. Look at what Libby did. This goes through my head. Libby could have hired me to run Howard Terminal. And I just happened to, this is the other reason I got upset. I happened to find a whole treasure trove of emails about Howard Terminal and where it was. It was worse than I thought. Just in terms of people not handling things a certain way, being on vacation, or little groups and cabals, and, stuff that takes less time to handle than they were spending. This is ridiculous stuff. But all because I have the confidence of saying, I can do this. Instead of saying, hey, Zennie's been around, he worked for us, he knows, let's give him a role. Let him start a task force or something like that, right? They say no, or if it's Shang Tao, our mayor-elect, she has a meeting with me behind the scenes because she doesn't want anybody to know that we met. And then she doesn't want me to interview her. She would rather go to some white media organization and talk about how it's terrible, not somebody who knows about how to do it and how it should be done. The people that are involved, they want the reporters who are trying to figure out what they are doing. It doesn't matter that what they're doing is wrong. So what happens is that the reporters wind up getting led down this, primrose path of bullshit. And you wonder why things aren't done, or the ways the A's are saying, and Commissioner of Baseball, hey, you know what? Maybe Las Vegas is a better choice for us. And then some of you get mad at me because you're saying you're trying to push the A's out. I'm not. The city's inaction is pushing the A's out. I'm saying, hey, look, go there to Las Vegas because it will teach Oakland a lesson. I just don't think Oakland is introspective enough in its current guise to get it or care. When Libby lost the Raiders to Las Vegas, she didn't have a debriefing. She took what she did there and replicated it, did the same thing with respect to the A's and Howard Terminal. No task force, making herself the face of it. When she doesn't know, making a ton of mistakes. Okay? Same playbook yet again. All right? So anyway, there you go. Subscribe to Zennie62. Well, Dave says, do what I always say about you, speak the truth, but they don't to see it. They don't want to see it. No, they don't. They don't. But I'm not going to stop. And I'm building a company. Dave Compton is my first member. Thank you, Dave. Bravo. Subscribe to Zennie62 and bookmark OaklandNewsNowBlog.com and join Dave in our membership group. And remember, credential covers CES Las Vegas 2023. You got it. All right. See y'all later. Thank you. Dave, love you. Thank you very much. That ends this broadcast.